I realized that health is just, it's essential. It's the foundation of everything we do.
If your health is not good, your world is not good.
What's the difference between the African American body type and blood level and how sugar or salt may affect us?
So we say health is here and housing is here and education's here.
Right.
And then we wonder why we can't sort of get a system to work for everyone.
How do you change the system such that the next generation has such a better health outcome and really sees health justice, right?
How do you leverage education? How do you leverage urban planning? How do you leverage housing, the faith community?
I think it's very critical that we help to meet the needs of our communities everywhere.
When I think about my college experience, going to Spelman College was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the most magical moment when I stepped foot on that campus where I mattered and I didn't have to prove myself to anyone, and just by the virtue of the fact that I was there, it was important to everyone around me. I think historically black colleges and universities are so important because they, number one, they graduate more African American people than any other colleges combined. And I think that also, it's just something about the legacy, the history of them. It's a source of pride, and you think about the way that they were established in a time when people had so little, but they did so much. And so I think that they are so important for the legacy. And I think that there are unique things that are happening on campuses, and I'll speak about Spelman. What they're doing right now around health and wellness is so important. They're no longer focusing on athletics, but they're focusing on how do we live a well life? How do we incorporate wellness, and how do we learn to incorporate our bodies and our communities, and so that we are able to be as healthy as possible. So there's yoga. There may not be a class in bowling or badminton anymore, but there is a class so that you can learn how to do Zumba. You can learn how to do, you can just learn how to take charge of your health, and I think that's so important. Because when we think about the statistics, with 40% of black women who will experience diabetes, or 4 out of 5 African American women deal with issues of obesity, and all those things that we know are the factors, but if we can teach people early on to be able to take charge of their health is so important. So black colleges are just essential and the foundation of so much.
And I think one thing that we also have to realize with black colleges, historically, a lot of our healthcare providers came out of those colleges. So many of our black doctors from Howard, it's the med school and the dental school, to, Xavier graduates more, pre-med and medical, people going on to medical school, Meharry, Fisk, all of these places. And I think that's really important for our community too, because we had a health foundation through those schools. When other people would not treat us, we were graduating those folks who would treat us and who did that generation of medical professionals until now. And we owe a great deal to that. And I think those of us who went to those colleges, health was important on those colleges because we were talking about it so much. And we were talking about the disparity in healthcare. And so if we graduated those folks who would take care of us.
That's right. I also went to Howard University, and it was the best choice I ever made in my life because my parents both went to HBCUs. My grandparents went to HBCUs. And the thing about it is a phenomenal feeling when you know that your skin color isn't the first thing that you're judged by.
That's true.
I'm not saying it's not going to affect you in any way, because we can have some tone issues depending on where you are. However, it's a big deal if you know I really earned that F. I just didn't study. You know what I mean? I'm not worried of something funny going on, like a political statement. That was huge for me. Another thing that was so phenomenal about attending an HBCU, and why I'm very involved not only with Howard University but with other HBCUs in mentoring or philanthropy, giving speaking engagements. But there's a level of research that happens and was happening while I was on campus at Howard, where you got a first broad brush cut of what's the difference between the African American body type and blood level and how sugar or salt may affect us, even before the FDA may have given out some, tried and true prayed on report. You got murmurings from the School of Medicine or from the chemistry or biology lab, like, hey, put those Lay's chips down, you eating too many of them. But So I'm like, wow, I'm getting information in real time. This is before Twitter.
Yeah, right.
So I was getting information in real time, and that was fantastic. And then at Howard too, there was such a great exchange program with diaspora nations.
Yes.
So you could get to Africa and back really easily. I mean, in comparison to if you were not at an HBCU, the visa program and the diplomats weren't worried if you were trying to start a world war. They believed you and study something because you were shown a natural interest. And so there, in terms of your confidence and your ability to learn, and then the information that is provided that is particularly germane to you, is right there on those HBCU campuses. So I think we need them now more than ever.
We do.
You know, I think that is why the American Heart Association is so committed to working with HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, even working in our Native American population, looking at those institutions that are educating these particular students, because at the end of the day, when 70% of our physicians and dentists and engineers are coming out of these institutions, we have to look at that as becoming the pipeline for our future volunteers, for becoming our future staff within the organization. And so we see that as being very critical for us to embrace, especially when you start talking about research. We're so apprehensive around being able to participate in clinical trials, but can we mitigate that by having those that look like you and can talk about it from a cultural perspective in order to contribute to the next body of science?
Absolutely.